graveyard of the Atlantic has kind of loose boundaries, but it's a geographic area where there are significant shipwrecks that occurred. People don't always understand the importance of the maritime history off North Carolina. There's over 2,000 off the Outer Banks alone and over 5,000 off North Carolina. But we consider the graveyard of the Atlantic to be from Currituck down to both banks. When the winds are blowing from the southeast and the northwest, they carry sand with them, and they blow along the shore and deposit it in this area. And this happens at Cape Hatteras, and it forms a shoal. The name of our shoal is Diamond Shoals.
The Diamond Shoals are those massive amounts of sand, which at one point they're located in one area, at another point they're located someplace else. And shoals are extremely dangerous because they extend out over 12 miles, and you can't chart them.
So if you're moving along the Gulf Stream or you're coming north from the Labrador Current, you're going to see a lot of traffic in this area. And then you're going to have storms that form offshore, winds and waves that can push a vessel onto these shoals, and then they'll be grounded. And then the wind and waves can pummel that ship to pieces in a very quick amount of time.
Geologically, the Outer Banks were an ancient kind of a mountain range along the coast. As the sea levels rose, that changed, and it's one of the more dangerous stretches of coast in the world. The graveyard of the Atlantic, that term was coined because of the number of shipwrecks. Some of these are victims of storms, some of them are the victims of warfare, some undoubtedly piracy, and absolutely catastrophic weather. I would think that while warfare and piracy certainly took their toll, I think weather probably did more, and also navigational errors. USS Huron is an extremely interesting vessel. It was a military vessel, was wrecked off the Outer Banks. Well, the loss of life was so profound. I think it was something like 91 officers and crew were lost on that ship, and most of them were lost because there was no active life-saving service. There was no safety equipment, nothing there to try and help these men that were really just several hundred yards off the beach. It was very, very bad. It actually instigated congressional action to formalize and regulate in instigating that change and getting the life-saving service established. The Monitor was not designed for open sea service. It was designed really for coastal and riverine duty. But they were transporting it to South Carolina. And what happened was they got caught in heavy weather. They were being towed off the Outer Banks, got caught in heavy weather. The Occam began to break up underneath the turret, allowing water in. The anchor well, literally, as the ship would go up like this and come down on the water would shoot up through the anchor well and go into the vessel's hull. Well, after a while, you've got water up to your knees, the ship is grossly unstable and it starts to sink. The ships come to their aid, they get some of the men off. I think 16 went down with the Monitor. In the 1970s, it was rediscovered. NOAA really focused on that as their first marine sanctuary. They've raised elements of it, the turret and other elements, much of which will be on permanent display down at the Graveyard of Atlantic Museum at Hatteras. The Graveyard of the Atlantic Museum is dedicated to the study and interpretation of the shipwrecks and maritime history of the Outer Banks, from the earliest periods of exploration through World War II. It's about shipwrecks, it's about how that affects the local culture, everything that's happened along our shores, and really its role in national and international history.
The Graveyard of the Atlantic Museum is an experience. You're coming in to educate yourself about the maritime culture and history of the North Carolina Outer Banks. It's filled with artifacts, exhibits. We have a huge amount of online programming, videos, and we have lessons online for students and things like that. The people living on Hatteras Island had an opportunity to accept some artifacts from the Monitor, but there wasn't a place to put them. And so everyone got together and decided upon building this museum. So it was on the backs of the people of Hatteras Island. So it was a huge effort and a very successful one. And then in time, the state took it over.
The museum was brought into existence by so many locals. Belinda Willis really got a concept going, but Dale Burris, Ward Barnett, the Midget family, the Couch family, all of them. And see, that's an important thing to remember, because national history or international history or state history, it's local history. And it's stories that belong to their families.
And that is something that I think people need to know and embrace and learn more about.